Okay, today we're going to talk about the drill press. The drill press that we have here is a tabletop drill press. We also have some other a stand-up drill press as well. The first thing you want to do is to have a piece of material that's underneath here that kind of acts as a support underneath your material, so it'll keep it from blowing out as you drill through your wood. So get your piece of material, place it on here. You want to go ahead and check your depth by going ahead and pulling this down. And you want to check your depth here to make sure that if you want to go all the way through, obviously you want to make sure that it's going to go into this material. If you need to adjust this, what you're going to adjust the depth, how far it cuts, is with this depth gauge right here. And you just simply loosen this up. You loosen the bottom one up, and then you bring the top one down to it to lock it down into position, and that will control how far it goes down, okay, by this depth gauge up at the top. Okay. Make sure too, if this is loose, and of course you can raise and lower this by the back here. You want to loosen this up, so make sure it's loose, and then on the side you can crank this up or down. Okay, but obviously you want to put this in position first, the table into position first, before you adjust the depth gauge. So adjust this first, then we want to lock this down. You also want to make sure that if you are going to go through into next to this, you obviously want to make sure that it's centered up. You'll notice I don't want to drill into the table, so you want to make sure that you're centered up with this. So you may want to turn this and then lock it down. So that way if you go through it, then you're going into the hole that's in the table and you don't accidentally drill into the table. Okay, so again, you would adjust this. And again, I put my support board underneath it, put my board that I'm going to drill into. To load in a drill, I've already got a drill bit in here. I'll take it out. You'll take the drill bit, you'll load this into the chuck. This is called the chuck, and then you use what should be loaded on the side is the chuck key. This is the chuck key right here that you use to go ahead and tighten that in. When you tighten this in, you're trying to tighten it on this area here. You don't really want to tighten it over these flutes. Okay, so you want to tighten it over this area here. So I'll load that in, tighten that up. You can tighten it by hand, and then once you get it tightened by hand, then you use the chuck key to get some leverage on it to get it nice and tight. Okay, when you turn it on, go ahead and turn it on then to make sure it's in there correctly. It shouldn't be vibrating or wobbling. If it is, go ahead and turn it back off. And you probably just need to unchuck that and make sure that it's in there correctly. Once that's done, go ahead and put the chuck key back up here on the top. Just snaps in up there. Some of the other drill presses might have that chuck key stored away, so just ask the instructor if you can't find it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll drill all the way through this. I'll make sure that that's going to go all the way into this board. It doesn't quite, so I'm going to adjust this a little bit. Make sure that it touches this board, and it does. Turn it on. Make sure I hold this securely. I'm going to drill into that. And you have to hold it really tight. If it starts wobbling on you, you're going to end up with a hole that's not exactly perfectly circular. So that's what you're looking after if you drill it right. As long as you have this board underneath, it should give you a nice cut underneath here on the bottom. If you're wanting to cut part way, then what you want to do is adjust this. What I like to do is take it until it touches the board. Okay, and then you measure this distance that's in between here. So a partner is kind of handy for this, and then you measure this distance. So if I want to go a ½ inch in, I just, again, keeping this against the drill bit against the board, and then I go and I measure until I get a ½ inch, and then I make sure that's at a ½ inch, and now when I drill into it, it'll stop at a ½ inch into the hole. Okay, so last thing, if you're drilling any circular stock, the other thing that you want to use is what's called a V-block. We have a couple V-blocks, an aluminum one and a wooden one. You put your circular stock in there. You don't need either one of these. Put your circular stock in there, your dowel rod or whatever, and drill those out. When you're done with the drill bits, please take them out. Never leave a drill bit in here. Take the drill bit out. The different drill bits are over here in this cabinet. Inside of here, you have all your drill bits here. If there's one missing, just ask the instructor and they can get some of these replaced. To know which drill bit you need, this is pretty handy. It's a drill bit gauge, and you can put this in here and it'll tell you what size drill bit that is, so that you're not just guessing, because sometimes they're written on here, but it's kind of hard because it gets worn off. Okay? Make sure you put those in the correct spot. This one looks like it's an extra one, so I'll just put it over here. But again, these drill bit gauges are really handy to figure out what size hole you need and then get the right drill bit. Close that back up. Make sure you clean your mess up. Again, make sure you take the drill bit back out. And that concludes the drill press.